Welcome back to another tactical fly fisher video. Lately, I've gotten quite a few comments asking how I carry two rods when I'm along the river. There are a lot of you that may not want to carry two rods, but I often carry two or three when I'm on the river so that I can quickly switch between rigs without having to re-rig. And there's so many times where switching from a dry fly to a nymph or from one style of nymph rig to another has really improved my efficiency and my success on the water. So I tend to be the kind of guy who carries multiple rods. Now, how do I go about doing it? The first way I carry two rods on the river is a pretty simple one that anybody would think of, and that's go lay your rod on the bank. The most important thing that you can do when you're doing that, number one, make sure you don't bash up your reel, so try not to drop it hard on some rocks, but also be careful about how you lay the upper part of the rod. Your leader will like to catch branches, so don't lay it in a pine tree or really grabby vegetation that's going to make it hard for you to get it out. I try and lay it wherever there's a little bit of grass to protect the reel if possible, but try and make it visible so it doesn't get stepped on, and just try and avoid putting that rod into vegetation that's going to grab your leader and make it difficult to get out when you go grab that rod for your next turn. The second way that I carry multiple rods is to have one of them down my waders. So when I put a rod down my waders, I want a couple of things. Number one, I want the handle on the reel to be facing away from my chest. It doesn't feel real good if that handle is poking your sternum all day long, I know from experience. So face the handle away from your chest, and then tilt the rod whichever way you're not casting. So if I'm casting over my right shoulder, like this, I want that rod facing to the left. If I'm casting over my left shoulder on the other bank of the river, then I'm gonna switch the rod's angle away, and then it won't get caught on my cast there. So be really cognizant of that and really careful. If you want to avoid tangles, make sure you avoid having the rod on the same side that you will be casting or setting the hook. This is made pretty easy for me because I've got straps on my chest pack here that I can just lean the rod against one way or the other. Depending upon the pack system that you have, you may or may not be able to do it this way. Some packs out there maybe even have straps to attach a rod to your vest or to your pack, but often they only have it on one side. So you may have to pay attention to that and find a way that you can somehow put your rod down your waders and make those movements to keep it away from your cast. One issue that comes up is when I'm wet wading, then I don't have my waders to catch the reel. So at that point, I just put the rod down my chest pack, and I hook the fighting butt or the reel seat of the rod on one of the straps of my chest pack. And if you're really crafty, you can even sew in a loop or something like that if you need to catch that butt to keep the rod in place. The last way you can carry multiple rods is using an actual rod carrier. So there's a product we carry in the shop called an O-Pros third hand rod carrier, and that product can strap to your hip pack or to your wading belt if you're wearing one, and you can put the rod in that rod carrier and then use its tilting function to put the tip wherever you want, up vertically or down horizontally. And that third hand rod holder is great for large rivers where I don't have a lot of vegetation, and so it's a good product to use when that's the case. I find it a little bit difficult on small water where I'm walking through riparian vegetation a lot because I'm often having the rod stick out behind me, and believe it or not, I don't have eyes in the back of my head, and I don't always remember that rod is there. So I pivot from one side to the other, and I find that I end up putting the rod into the tree branches. So if you use that third hand rod holder, be careful about that. If you're walking on small water, you can tilt it up so that it's straight up over your shoulder, or just use it when you're on larger rivers where there's not as much vegetation around and trees that can catch the rod as you're walking through the brush. And certainly, no matter what, whenever I'm traveling through the brush on the banks, whether I have the rod down my waders or on a third hand rod holder, I'm gonna take them both out and carry them in my hands so that I can watch where the rod tips are going, because you're either gonna break flies off or your rod tip if you don't. So I hope you enjoyed that quick tip and that it makes it a little bit easier for you to carry 2 rods and have more efficiency while you're out on the river. If you like that video, please give us a YouTube thumbs up. It really helps people see the videos. And then subscribe to our channel so that you get a notification the next time that we post another video. And come on over to tacticalflyfisher.com, where we have whatever you need to tie flies or buy flies or fish for your next adventure. Thanks for watching.